Okay, so today we're going to deep dive into some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
We're looking at the International Criminal Court, the ICC, and some actions that they've taken recently regarding the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Yay.
This is
Big news.
This is big, yeah. The ICC has issued arrest warrants for both Israeli and Hamas leaders.
Wow.
We're talking Prime Minister Netanyahu, former Defense Minister Benny Gantz, and Hamas's Mohammed Deif.
And Deif, didn't Israel say he was killed in July?
Yeah, they claim that he was killed in July, but, who knows. So, I mean, what is the ICC thinking here? What's their reasoning?
Well, I think what's really important to understand here is that the ICC is accusing both sides of some really serious crimes.
Yeah,
We're talking crimes against humanity and war crimes.
Okay, so I got to admit, whenever I hear those terms, they always sound very serious.
Yeah.
But I always get a little fuzzy on, like, what exactly...
What they actually mean?
Yeah, what they actually mean. So could you break it down for us? Like, what are we actually talking about here?
Sure. So crimes against humanity, those involve, like, widespread or systematic attacks. Attacks that are directed at civilians.
Okay.
So in this case, the ICC is looking into things like the alleged use of starvation as a method of warfare against Gaza, which, under international law, that's considered a grave breach.
Wow, that's just chilling. And then what about war crimes? Like, what's the distinction between those two?
So war crimes are a little bit different. I mean, they violate specific rules of war. So these rules are laid out in these international treaties.
Okay.
So you're talking things like intentionally targeting civilians, using disproportionate force, or even, using weapons that have been banned.
Right.
So basically the ICC is saying, look, we have evidence, we have reason to believe that both Israel and Hamas may have engaged in these acts.
Okay. Now, in the source material that we're looking at, it also mentions the International Court of Justice.
Right.
The ICJ.
Mm-hmm.
And they weighed in and they expressed concern over potential genocide. So first of all, could you clarify for us, for our listeners, like, what's the difference between these two courts? We've got the ICC and the ICJ. What are they each doing?
Sure. So the ICC is focused on prosecuting individuals.
Okay.
Individuals for the most serious international crimes, things like genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, that kind of thing. The ICJ, on the other hand, they settle legal disputes between states.
Okay, got it. So, and then what does it mean that the ICJ has weighed in? They've said that they're concerned about potential genocide.
Yeah. So it's important to understand that their statement doesn't mean that genocide has been proven.
Right.
But it does mean that there is enough concern for them to warrant further investigation.
Got it.
So it's really serious.
So, okay, well, I mean, what happens if Netanyahu is arrested? We're talking about a sitting prime minister. What does that process even look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes this whole thing so unprecedented. I mean, if he's apprehended, he'd be brought before the ICC in The Hague. He would have a trial. He'd have the opportunity to defend himself. And then, if he's found guilty, he could face imprisonment.
Wow. So, I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
And I was looking through the source material, and it actually lists some other leaders who've been convicted of crimes against humanity. And we're talking Saddam Hussein, Slobodan Milosevic.
I mean, these are some big names, some very serious charges.
Yeah. So, I mean, that really puts the gravity of the situation into perspective.
Absolutely.
So, and I guess the big question here is, like, what are the potential global implications if a sitting Israeli prime minister is actually tried for these crimes?
I mean, that is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't think anyone knows the answer. This is uncharted territory. It could have a massive impact on international relations, peace negotiations in the region, even on Israel's internal politics.
I mean, this deep dive has really given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's a really complex situation, obviously still developing, and the consequences could be huge.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for breaking it down for us.
Yeah, of course.
We'll have to keep an eye on this and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
And for our listeners, I mean, this is something to really pay attention to. This is history in the making, potentially.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So keep yourselves informed, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.